Welcome to Side Alpha Leadership, a podcast where leaders can share their experiences and discuss what leadership means to them. I'm your host, David Polikoff. Hello and welcome to this month's Side Alpha Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, David Polikoff. Once again, on the phone with me, I have Dave McGlynn. Dave McGlynn is the interim chief for the Letterkenny Fire Department in Pennsylvania, not Canada. That's what we said the last time we were on the show. I actually had somebody send me a message asking if that was the one in Canada. So unfortunately, no, it's not that one. He also just finished writing a book, which will be out very soon, called The Training Officer. So without any further ado, Dave, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for having me on. That is hilarious that somebody reached out to you and asked if it was the Canada show, which I only assumed was going to happen.
Yep, I can't remember. I don't even remember where the guy was from. Sent me a email through the website just asking, "Hey, is that the chief from Letterkenny Fire Department, like the TV show?" And I'm like, "No, it's not that one."
No.
But
so
anyway,
over Quebec, eh?
Yeah, exactly. So had you on the show a handful of months ago, and you were in the process of finishing up the book. And at the time, you were the assistant chief of training at Letterkenny, and a couple things happened here and there. I think the interim chief or the fire chief had left, and they offered you as the interim spot right now. And if your bosses are listening, you better make this guy the chief, for crying out loud. He put Letterkenny on the map with the call load, and he posts quite a bit of the calls that you guys run. You guys aren't slow. You're a pretty busy department for a federal department, and but anyway, without me rambling on like I always do, so tell us what you've been up to and a little bit about your book, and we'll go from there.
I appreciate that, brother. A lot has happened since the last time we did the show. So I was exclusively assigned to doing training. And with that, the way most federal bases work is you also serve as a shift supervisor. So for at least one overnight tour a week, I would be the IC for the shift. So back in October, my chief, or my former chief, he had moved me into ops. So I was the operations chief, but with no pay raise to also oversee training. So I was doing ops and training for the same pay as an assistant chief, which is par for the course of the fire service. So I was doing that, and then he had left, and he took a job actually down by you. He's down at Dietrich now, and that left his position open. So in the meantime, I have been temporarily promoted, so I'm the interim chief, and we'll see what happens. I've said to people keep asking. It's funny. I'm 40 and I'm young, and I never thought all this would be going on right now. It wasn't really in the plan. But like my grandmother used to always say, you want to make God laugh, tell him you have a plan. So I'm excited about what we got going on, which is probably some of the stuff we're going to talk about during the show. But yeah, a lot has been going on all at once. The past few years, but definitely the past 7 months of my life. And the book is being finished up, and that has been the most challenging, taxing thing. I started that project in fall of 21, and back and forth with ideas and expectations and visions of what the book should look like from other people, and I decided to kind of hold my ground to how I wanted the book to be laid out. I thought, if this is going to be something I'm going to do, then it's going to be kind of the way I want it. And it should hopefully be available within the next month. I would say the publisher has a author's copy done. So just going through that, we're looking through it, making sure that we like the layout. There's already a number of changes that we got to make. We got peer review back, and some really good positive comments, and some really good comments that are things that I honestly enjoyed. Good constructive criticism. So that peer review part was the thing I was most nervous about. And I'll be honest, I really enjoy it. And it's not because they weren't honest. They were honest, but that was the good thing, was because that's some preventative maintenance stuff. That's like, some good ideas so we can make those changes before the rest of the public has that in their hands. So I'm pretty excited about that whole journey. So yeah, it's been overwhelmingly busy, but a good busy nonetheless.
And I've gotten to see a little bit of excerpts from it that you put out there, and just so people know, this was you didn't go the route that some people go with fire service books. You like you said, you stuck to your guns. You wanted the book to be how you wanted it to be. You put your heart and your soul into it, and other than some minor changes here and there, it's 100% your book, which is pretty cool. So let's talk a little bit about your book. I know you don't get a chance to really talk about it that much. I know it's not out yet, but the people that are listening, tell them what the book's about, why you decided to write it, and how that coincides with some of the stuff that you actually teach. I've sat in on a couple of your classes. It's pretty funny. If you want the full New Jersey experience, then you have to sit down and listen to Dave's class. You'll learn quite a bit of some good Eastern New York words. So I actually had to go back and watch Donnie Brasco. I think I sent you that text message the other day.
You did.
So I could get all the words, and I listened to it. It was pretty funny. But anyway, so let's talk a little bit about your book, the reason why you wrote it, and what prompted you to write it, some of the good stuff that's in there. What can people expect to take away from your book?
No, I appreciate that. So I'll tell you, writing a book wasn't something that I didn't not want to do. I just didn't want to do it, I guess, this early. But it's good that I did it, especially because I'm kind of now exiting training. So, it's now is as good as time as any to pass on everything, all the things that I experienced while doing training. So in the shortest, but probably still long version of how I got into this. So I was teaching at FDIC, did the first version of the class that is now known as Do You Have What It Takes to Be a Training Officer? And I had been fortunate to get a lot of positive reviews. And I was fortunate that some guys like yourself and Frank Ritchie and PJ Norwood and Rick George and Mike Champo, they had popped in the class and they went and told some of the powers to be at FE Books and Videos, hey, this guy puts on a really good class. So I was approached and asked, hey, do you want to do a book? We'd like you to do a book, so on and so forth. So I started to throw the book together, and I was very nervous, and I started to design the preface. And then I had gotten, and I don't mind sharing this story because for your listeners, I want you to understand, and this is nothing ill toward the man. I'm going to pay him his respect here in a second, but just understand that, I was told one time by a guy that was a partner of mine. He was the prevention chief up at West Point, Kenny Canfield, and he had said, stick to your convictions. And I was glad that he said that to me because it was at a time where I was at my lowest, both personally and professionally, and I needed to hear it. And I've stuck with that since he gave me that advice one night. And Bobby Holton, God rest his soul, he gave a lot of people a big shot. He was a huge person in our business and in our thing, in presenting and in instruction, and the fire service in general. Definitely huge, big marketer of the brand for fire engineering and FDIC. I mean, he was great. And Bobby wanted me to do something different, and I did not want to do something different. He wanted me to do more of an instructional type of like fire instructor textbook. And I said, Chief, all due respect, I'm not a textbook writer. And he's like, oh, Dave, how many people want to write for us? And I'm talking to you, and I'm trying to give you a chance. And I said, I appreciate it. And he pitched the idea of what his vision was, of what the book looked and sounded like. And my Dave McGlynn response, my Jersey response was, that sounds like a good book. You should probably write that. And he said again, how many people want to write a book? And I said, I appreciate that, but they're not Dave McGlynn. And he got a little upset, and he said, well, I wouldn't care if you were General MacArthur. And And anyway, we didn't end up parting on bad terms by no means. I still wrote for them and did the podcast, still do the podcast, still teach at FDIC, and I always appreciated that, and I appreciated the opportunity he gave me, and I miss him. It was weird this past year, as you know, him not being there. Love the guy and I miss him, but I stuck to my convictions, and I kept writing the book, and it's being published now. It's being published through Firefighter Book Club, and they're going to it'll be coming out, like I said, this August. I'm really excited about it because I took some of Bobby's ideas in the sense that he wanted there to be some kind of like lessons, right? So I have some breakout lessons learned type thing where they're called test your understanding. And it's more just so that you're following along and going along with it. Some like kind of breakaways so you can think like, what has this guy been saying while I'm reading it? How does that apply to me? What do I think? But a lot of it is a lot of the ins and outs, a lot of the crap that we all deal with, that I have literally experienced doing training. From understanding that being a training officer means you're a leader, to understanding the values and the importance in the role, and how to not take it for the wrong reasons. There are people who have said for years they promote into the training officer position as a way to get off the truck, or they promote into a training officer position as a way to put on bugles and give themselves some kind of rank, because typically training officer positions are some kind of chief rank. Some of them are company level officers. There's usually like a captain or something like that. But for the most part, organized departments have a training chief. And, it's more of an administrative title, but nonetheless, it's an important title. And the name chief, it's synonymous with leader, with person, in command. And if you're overseeing a training division, you're in command of that training division. When you're leading a classroom, it's the same as if you're an incident commander at a scene. You're in command of the incident or of the instruction. You're in command of the drill, and everything is orchestrated off of your direction and your demands and everything like that. The nice thing is that if somebody, God forbid, messes up or gets hurt during the training, we can reassess and fix it. That's what makes training better than running the calls, is because it's the preparation piece, it's the practice piece, it's the unknown. Tom Brady practices all year to win the Super Bowl. The stuff we see him do at the Super Bowl, that's not the first time he's doing that. He's been practicing it all year or for years prior to, and that's the value of training. And we talk about a lot of that in the book is the value of it, the ins and outs, dealing with egos, dealing with people that have tunnel vision, dealing with budgetary issues. I go through understanding how to design a training program, and I give some tidbits and references and resources of things that helped me build a training program. And I've had some good people that have had a training background contribute to each chapter. And then I end the book with my top 10 training officer traits, and we go over those, and it's a really nice thing to have put together, because now that I see it, now that I'm basically finished with it, it's an accomplishment on my end, but it's also like something that I'm proud to share. It's none, like you said before about Donnie Brasco. You go to one of my classes, you'll hear some Jersey or New York type language. So there's no fugazi stuff in this book. It's real. It's all the stuff that I've been through. It's my experiences. They're true. I'm not trying to sell books. You don't make money selling books. I'm trying to share a message, and I'm just really excited to be able to showcase that information to people. So I appreciate you asking about it.
And people need to understand, first and foremost, people need to understand that fugazi means fake, not real.
Right.
The things that you teach in your class at FDIC and that you teach around the country are tested and used by you, and that they work. But the other thing people need to understand is, you don't write a book to become rich. It doesn't work that way. Fire service book, you don't make millions of dollars writing fire service books. You write these books because it's a passion that you have, and you want to put it down on paper, and you feel so strong about it that you want to share it with as many people as you can, and that's the beauty of the fire service. We go to FDIC. We don't make millions of dollars teaching, around the country. With the things that we do, we go to FDIC because that's a national stage to teach on. We can put our message out there to a broader audience. And if just one person walks away and you've made them think differently, or listen to what you have to say and say, hey, I never thought about it that way, or even affirm something that they've always believed because now you're saying it, then it's a win for us. So people need to understand it's not easy to write a book. And I wouldn't know. I know it's not easy because I've never written one, nor will I. But to be able to put that information down for people to read it, again, you're not going to make $1 million. You're going to have that satisfaction that you've put your heart into pages and people buy it and read it. That's the satisfaction. When I teach at FDIC, when we shut the doors and I turn around and see, how many people showed up for the class to hear me speak, that's all the thanks. That's worth more than $1 million to me. It's very overwhelming and humbling at the same time. So kudos to you for writing the book and sticking to your guns. That's I know that this is something that you've been working on for a long time, and with COVID and all that stuff. But you got it out, and it'll be out soon. So I urge people, go out and buy the book. Even if you don't want to become a training officer, at least it gives you the insight of developing programs, what it takes to develop a program, and how to be successful delivering that program, as well as empowering your people around you to take what you wrote and develop programs, and to teach and to make the fire service a stronger, better place. That's my soapbox, and I'll let you take it from there.
No, no. So one, thank you, and then two, you're absolutely right, and then three is you shouldn't, especially you. You have enough to talk about. You have enough stories to tell that I wouldn't hang your hat on that you're not going to write a book, because I'm positive that there's some good information that needs to come out of you in that. But I will say, and you know this, but I'll just say for the listener, writing. Man, I'm honestly nervous now because it's a month away and it'll be publicly available for sale. So it's up for pre-sale right now. We've already sold quite a few on pre-sale, so I'm already like, oh man, it's not even available. It's not even in print. You put yourself out there. So those that intimately know me, they know that I suffer from a level of self-inadequacy and some anxiety and whatever. And for me this is no shot at fame. I didn't ask to write a book. I was asked if I was approached to do it. And then I like Kenny had told me years back, stick to your convictions. And then, after I started getting into it, I stuck to my convictions, and I put myself out there and put myself in this. And the important thing is I'm sharing my experiences. That's going to come with some reactions and responses and differences of opinion. What I experienced may not be what you experienced, and what I wrote may be a difference of opinion for you. And I appreciate that. That's the fire service. But I do want to share with the audience is just understand that when you write a book, it's the same as when we put ourselves out there to teach on a public sector. It's the same as when we put ourselves out there to teach even in our own departments. When we write an article, when we put something on Facebook, you are putting yourself out there, vulnerable for other people to try to disagree. And in the world today, more today than ever, is full of haters and trolls. And I'm already going through those anxious emotions of the backlash from certain people that I'll get. And you know what? And I care because I care about things like that. But it didn't stop me from writing it. And I want people to understand, if you have a message, and it's true, and you feel passionate about it, you should share your message, because the fire service needs to hear everyone's story. The fire service needs to hear everybody's message. The fire service needs to share information with each other, because the thing that can hurt us is that we think we have it all figured out. And even though the fire service is also its own worst enemy, in the sense that, you know, they'll sit there and bully people, it doesn't mean that we should stop sharing content and sharing information, because it's for the betterment of what we do. So I just throw that out there for the listener, and even for yourself, Dave, is just, you know, people have information, experiences, knowledge, skills, abilities. They should be willing to share it, because we need it. The fire service needs it. You know, Frank took how long to put his book together? And Frank is very honest in his book. And anybody that knows Frank, you know, Frank Ritchie, Frank is an opinionated man. He supports his opinions with facts, and he is not afraid to deliver those opinions based off of factorial information. And he put himself out there with that book, and I'm proud as hell of him for it. You know, so I think that people need to at least appreciate that, is that we need to share information, and people are willing to put themselves out there and sacrifice themselves so others can gain information.
Yeah, I think what you said is 100% correct. You have to share the information, and there's going to be haters out there. We get that, you know. But you put something out there, and it's okay to respectfully disagree. You know, the way that they train in the Northeast may be different than the way we train in the Mid-Atlantic, which is different than they train in the Southeast versus you know, the West Coast. But at the end of the day, we're all firefighters, and we're all there to do the same job, to accomplish the same thing. But it's okay to disagree with the different styles. But the information that you're putting out there, the fire service in general is an old service, and you know, water still goes on fire, fires still go out. You know, we're using hand tools that were developed back in the early 1900s. And we're still using them to this day. I mean, the Halligan bar is only at its third generation of what it was when it first came out. You know, started out as the Kelly bar, the Halligan bar, you know, to where it is today. So, you know, the information that you're putting out there, it's not brand new. It's stuff that you find along the way, and you kind of dust it off, and you make it fit in the world that you're operating in. That's the cool thing about when you're teaching at FDIC, is you're teaching with like-minded people. They're there. They've put a program together that they developed. They've taken bits and pieces of other stuff that they learned along the way. They put it into a package, and they deliver it. So when we go out after the training and the classes, and when we're in Indy, we all are like-minded people, even though we're from different companies around the country, and sometimes around the world. We still share that same passion of teaching and learning and passing on what we have. And that's what you've done with your book. That's what Frank did with his book. You know, lessons learned, things that didn't work. You figured out how to make them work. You put them on paper, and then you send them. My satisfaction is developing a program and maybe delivering an hour-and-a-half program, or a 4-hour you know, program, or what have you, or an 8-hour program in a symposium. That's what satisfies me. You know, like I said, I joke around with my wife, and you know, she constantly says, well, you know, you didn't do this and you didn't do this. And I tell her, you know, when we're doing projects around the house, I said, I have a solid record of finishing 32% of the projects that I start. So that's something. And then she reminds me, she goes, that's an F. But, you know, when it comes to writing a book, I just don't feel it in me right now. But I really have that passion of, hey, I just learned this, or hey, this just came up, you know, something that I've been working on, and I put it together on a piece of paper, or put it on a PowerPoint, get some opinions of people that I respect, and you know, see if we can't put a class together and teach the masses, and that's what really feels good for me. And you know, I'm excited for your book to come out. I was excited for Frank's book to come out. I've heard lots of positive stuff about Frank's book, and you know, what you've taught in your class at FDIC that I've sat through a couple of times. If that's any inclination of what's going to be in your book, it's going to be a good book. So I wouldn't doubt yourself. There are going to be people out there who's like, oh, that's not going to work for me. And okay, then we agree to disagree. That's fine. But if you pull something out of it and say, I could use that, or I can hear what he's saying, I'd modify it so it works for me, and then move forward with that. Well, like I say, if they're teaching what you have written, well, that's the highest form of flattery, is the imitation or the utilization of information that you've put out there. That just means that they listened, they learned, and they pushed it forward. That's my opinion.
Oh, right, and exactly, and that's the point. That's the point in why we teach, is so that somebody takes that information and implements it somehow, that their brain somehow responds and reacts to it, whether they agree or not. That's developmental, because they're jogging something in their mind to have an opinion about it, and that opinion is based off of their experiences and off of their education. That's how they're able to come up, to formulate their reaction and response to it. So like I said, I appreciate that, because that's the point. There's not, the book isn't designed to have sexy nuggets in it. I mean, I'm sure there's the way the publisher threw some stuff together. He's got some breakout things that are like quotes that I didn't even realize that is a quote of mine. It was just some shit I was saying, and he ended up capturing it in a quote, and it looks cool. So that's cool, but nonetheless, like I said, I just it's very much, it's informational, it's informative, it's storytelling, but it's educational in the sense that I'm not going to teach you how to be a training officer as much as I'm going to tell you about the crap that you're going to encounter. I talk about a guy that I worked with that had a drinking problem, and how he came into my office because while I was the training officer, I was a non-supervisory chief, which made it easier for him to be comfortable to approach me. And, and he sat down and he cried in my office, and he told me about the problems he was having and about how he didn't think he could be in the fire service anymore. And I had a guy whose father died while he was going through a divorce call me at, after hours in the middle of the night on the way home from the hospital, crying to me that his dad just passed, and he didn't know who else to call. And these are things that you don't realize that, these happen. I don't want to say that it's just me. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't often think that I'm the most approachable person. I tend to be a pretty brash person because of my Jersey upbringing. But when you're in that training officer position, if you're doing it well, and I don't mean well like I'm a good training officer, like I'm not great. Most of the people that I've ever taught a class to knew better than me or could perform the job better than me. Just that you care about the development of others. People, that resonates with people, and that makes you a trustworthy person. And I get picked on for saying the two words all the time, but it's a fact. The recipe to success for any leader, but especially in the training officer realm, is the ability to have sympathy and empathy, and understanding the difference between the two. And as a training officer, you don't just put out a training calendar. As a training officer, you don't just teach a class. As a training officer, you don't just enroll people in to go to the academy or go to take some class somewhere, get a certification or whatever. You are responsible for their development lifetime wise. You literally encompass a coach and a mentor. You sympathize with how people, learn, how everybody learns different. And, you can empathize with the people that struggle with things. I have guys that fail tests, and they get real hard on themselves. And I have no shame in ever telling people, I'm like, I failed my EMT 4 times before I passed it. People always say, oh, you shouldn't tell people. I don't give a shit. That makes me more real. So when you fail something, you see that I was able to still persevere. That should kind of put it in a frame of reference for you that it's not the end of the world, And I think that, that's important stuff to share with people is, you literally are responsible for every member of that organization, and you most times become like a guidance counselor more than you just are the guy that puts out what they're supposed to train on. And you're in the business of professional and personal development. You don't even realize it. It's not in the job description. It's not an interview question. It's not what you signed up for. And it's certainly not what they taught you in educational methodology when you were taking your instructor 1 or 2 or 3. It just happens. And that's what I wanted to share in the book. That shit is what you go through. It's real. And you need to understand it and value it, or you're not going to do a well job. And that's it.
And I'm jotting down notes as we're going. There's a couple of things that you hit, and people need to understand. Especially when it comes to leaders of the organization, whether you're a line officer or a chief officer. You talked about sympathy and empathy, and I tell people the same thing. Especially when you get into that leadership position, you need to be able to try to put yourself in their shoes and understand, what they may be going through, and to help them, as opposed to just blow it off and making statements like, well, you got to tough it out, and you need to be 100% when you come to work, and you need to leave all that stuff at home. Well, it doesn't work that way. But when people know that you care, about the job and about the people, then they're going to follow you to the ends of the earth. They're going to defend you, behind your back when people say negative things about you, because they know you're genuine. And that to me is one of the pinnacle parts of leadership, is to be human, humble, to be able to relate to people, and to be able to show people that you're human. You talked about, you failed your EMT 4 times. It doesn't make you a failure. You learn, you pick yourself. It's how you pick yourself up and what you do after that. But you let people know that, hey, I failed this test the first 4 times and I finally got it. It makes you human. Look at you now. Now you're the interim chief, of a fire department. You've come up through the ranks, and it just lets people know that life is full of failures. That's how you learn. It doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. I think the first, I want to say the first assessment center that I took, I didn't do very well at all. I was fortunate that I could get promoted, but I felt like a failure because I didn't do as well as I thought I should. You do your best, and then you reevaluate on how you did, and then you strive to work hard to make yourself better. And when you can portray that, when you can show that to the people that are around you, they're going to follow you. And that's what it's all about. You're human. You're humble. You're not bulletproof. You're prone to failures just like everybody else, and it makes you more relatable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's like I said, that's some of the stuff that we cover in the book. But you just, not even just to talk about the book, just in general, for your listeners, these are things, regardless of the position, that you need to have. Nobody likes working for a dictator. I always joke and I say, that the first syllable of that word, there's a reason for it, dictator, so nobody likes working for that person. Nobody likes working for micromanagers. Though I've found that sometimes you end up getting in the weeds on micromanaging because people, they'll try to take advantage, or at least try to test the limits and see how far they can get away with stuff. So you got to kind of be in their ass until they realize that they need to get it done. But like you have to be approachable. You have to be somebody who understands failure. You have to be somebody that understands setbacks. You have to be human. Not to take away from it, but I want to cover this just because they're important things. So one of the things that I have in the class, and one of the things that I have in the book is called the Training Officer's Top 10, right? So 1, be a student. You have to be someone who's going to learn all the time. So whether you're in a training officer position, a leadership position, whatever, okay, you have to learn always. Just because you have every cert known to man, just because you ride a busy truck or a busy engine or whatever in a busy city, doesn't mean you know everything. You have to be a student. You have to be a student of the craft. This is the craft that we're supposed to perfect. You have to be a student always, forever, the entire time, until you're done doing it, right? And then you're gonna be a train officer. You have to be an educator. So you have to understand the material that you're trying to teach the people. You can't just stand up there and death by PowerPoint, sit there with your back to the audience, and and read the screen in front of you. These people, they're students. They need to be able to see you. They need to be able to relate to you. They need to see it in your eyes, see it in your emotions, see it in your hand gestures, see it in your facial expressions. And that's not fake. That's genuine. When they see that shit, they know that you can't make that up. That's not something you can act. That's something that literally comes out of you. It's just a physical, just outburst of the things that you're talking about. Third, you need to be an inspiration. People, human nature, people love to be inspired, right? People love when someone can. There's always, people love those Cinderella stories. People love when somebody fails and they get back on their feet. People look for inspiration everywhere, and the issue that we run into in the fire service is we're so set on our own egos, our own cliques, that we fail to inspire others, and you need to be an inspiration. But then, fourth, you need to be credible, okay? You can't just, you joke, but I know it's the truth also. Is the Fugazi thing that I always say. In this business, in this service, in this thing of ours, you can't just show up talking to talk. I'm not saying you got to be the best. I'm not the best. I've never been the best, and I'm pretty content in admitting that. I hang my hat on that so I can lower the expectation. But the truth is, you got to be credible. You got to mean what you say. You have to know what you know. You have to research things and reference things and support things. So, for example, just me for a quick example, I recently wrote an article. I was writing about the importance of training on building construction. I talked about a fire that happened back home years back when I was a kid. And while I was putting the fire together, I had just on my own problem, I didn't do enough research. I had assumed that the building was a different type construction than what it was, because it was an auto dealer, and I'd assumed that it was one type, and that this building was just actually a different type construction. So I had sent the article in, and then went out for peer review, and one of the guys came back, and they were at the fire, and they were like, "What the hell is he talking about when he says this? I was at that fire. He shouldn't have said it was this type construction." I didn't get mad about it. I was like, "Oh shit, I need to learn my stuff better." You need to be credible. I didn't sit there and take that as a something that hurt me. I took it as an opportunity to learn more so that I can maintain credibility. Then you need to be a leader, because, like I say, training officer's a leader too. So you lead the classroom, you lead the drill, you lead the instruction on the drill grounds, you lead others. You need to be perceived as a person that they will follow. The teacher is a leader. So in the fire service, just because you're the training officer or the fire instructor, that doesn't mean you're not a leader. You certainly are a leader. In some cases, you're more of a leader than other people who are officially leaders. If people aren't willing to follow your example and your lead on the instruction and on the methodologies and the information that you're giving them, then you have no following. So therefore, you're not a leader. So you need to be a leader. Then you need to be confident. No one likes someone who's going to be, I always say, your chin's having a conversation with your chest. If you're putting your chin down to your chest and you're having a conversation talking to your belly button, nobody hears you. If you sound like a mouse, nobody hears you. But my guys break my balls all the time because, they say, well, what are you so angry about? Because I elevate my voice and if I'm standing and doing a drill, I have my hands on my hips or I have my arms crossed and I'm kind of like, stern faced. I'm confident in the delivery of what it is that we have to do, and I'm assessing what it is that we have to do. And the people need to see that I have that confidence in what we're going over, because if I don't take it serious, they're not going to take it serious. And if I don't understand the information or the topic or the subject, and I'm trying to pass this information on, well, what will they retain and how serious will they take it? Because I wasn't confident in my delivery of it. Then with confidence, you need to be humble. You need to understand that you don't have all the answers, and you need to know that you shouldn't teach every single thing, and that you shouldn't be the person that's always leading the drill or leading the instruction. You need to be able to recruit a cadre of instructors. These people are right inside your own firehouse. They're subject matter experts within your own fire station, and you can pick from them and you can have them lead the instruction on stuff, and you can teach them how to develop, lesson plans and PowerPoints and help them facilitate and everything like that. How you do that is by being resourceful and networking. You know me, Dave, I love to network. Know who to talk to, what you can get from those people, and be willing to talk to people. Be willing to put yourself out there. Because the other nice thing on that is not only are you going to network with people and gain some hopefully free stuff and some stuff that helps build your training program and build your training division, and then in part build your people, but you also market your mission because you're talking to the stakeholders. And when they see you talking to them and they hear you talking to them, and they hear how passionate you are about what it is that you're trying to drive at, that passion stuff, man, that's intoxicating. So even to somebody that has nothing to do with the fire service, they're attracted to how excited you are about the fire service. So they want to be willing to help. And that's why I said be passionate. And then lastly, you want to leave a good legacy. Everybody has to do everything for a reason. So in the training world, we have objectives, right? We have SMART objectives. Well, as a training officer, as a leader, as a member of the fire service, and as a member of life, you want to leave a good legacy. Everything you do, that should be your objective is, what am I doing this for? What will be the outcome of this? Why am I doing this? Am I doing it for the right reason? And that's how you leave a good legacy. And I just wanted to touch on those things because I touch on those in the book, but the reason why I touch on them in the book, this isn't a sell for the book. This is a sell for information. Like, you guys need to hear this. Those are my personal, training officers top 10. I call it that because that's for the book, but these are just life's top 10, like, fire service top 10. You need to have the ability to go to do these 10 things, these 10 things I promise you, because they're literally things that I've done in my career and that I have learned the hard way by not having them. Okay. I'm not just going to sit there and throw some nuggets out there and be like, this is what works. Like, no, it works because I realized that I wasn't doing it. And that's why I found out that I had to, to this day, like I just shared with the story where I tried writing an article, shit happens. And that's why you need to have these 10 traits in order to be successful within your organization and within your own life.
One of the things that you said that resonates with me, where we, even though we are instructors and we're teaching, on the national level, we are still students, and you see it as well as I do. Is when you're teaching a class, even at FDIC, and you look out in the audience and you see people sitting in your class that are also instructors at FDIC, like maybe they've already taught their class or they haven't yet, but they're sitting in on your class. I do it. I've sat on your class a couple of times, sat in on Frank's class, Nick Papa's class, people that I know, but I get information from them. We're constantly learning. We're constantly stewards of the fire service. We've said it 1,000 times. The day that you think you know everything is the day you become dangerous, and you need to, hang up your turnout gear and leave the firehouse gracefully. But you have to be a student as well as an instructor. You just can't just teach. You have to also be able to take some information in. And like I said, I've taught. When I've taught there, I've looked out and saw other instructors that have taught that are sitting in on my class, and I've sat in on many classes, as you have, as Frank has. So that's the cool thing about when you are surrounded with people that are passionate about training, but they're also passionate about learning, and so that really resonates with me because I enjoy not only teaching to students, but to actually be a student as well, because you'll always learn something. So I want to pivot a little bit with the last 15 minutes that we have in the show, something that you and I have talked on offline, and something that's been kind of in the back of my head when we talk about culture. You hear about it, in the military, in the fire department, any quasi-military organization or military organization where they talk about culture. But every time you hear people talk about culture, it's always this negative connotation to it. It's like, we need to change the culture of the people. We need to change the culture of the fire service in order for us to do blah, blah, blah. but I look at it as, yeah, if you are on a dangerous path and that's been the path that's been set in stone, then yeah, then the culture may need to change. But we also breed this culture of fire service with the aggressive firefighter, and that's not like a dangerous firefighter, that's that they're aggressive. Why are they aggressive? Because they have the passion and the training, and they're learning and learning and learning, and they're learning their craft, so when the bells hit, it's like second nature. The culture of pride in the fire service, where your uniforms, and I know we talk about uniforms, and everybody's like, oh, if you're going to preach about uniforms and everything else in the fire service is great, but I look at it as, if your uniform is neat and clean and pressed, and you're clean shaven, your hair is combed, everything looks good, that's the impression that you're given to the public. And when they see that, they recognize right away that that's a squared away crew. Where you get some people that get off the fire engine and they've got torn pants and dirty tennis shoes, they haven't shaved, or their uniforms are messy. That is a negative culture as well. So I want to touch a little bit about the positive sides of culture and how we can foster good culture, and what does that look like, and what are some of the things that are in the fire service right now that we think is good for the culture of the fire service. I'll let you have those words.
So it's a great topic, great talking points, and it's a great question. So I'll start with, I don't have all the answers to that. I would be remiss to say that I did. So I'm gonna just talk on my experience. Culture's huge in the fire department. It's funny that you mentioned culture. So I'm doing my master's degree right now, and one of the classes that I'm taking is this is America today. It's a required class for my master's degree, and it's called Diversity and Inclusion in the Workplace. I'm not making that up. That's literally the title.
Now, see, this is one of Frank Ritchie's favorite topics, because he is very, very engrossed and entwined in inclusion. So we'll make sure that he's listening to this. Go ahead.
Right. So, it's funny that you mentioned this, because so I'll start with the one part of that. I was answering a discussion board, and it was talking about cultures, and they brought up culture and about how everybody has different cultures and everything like that. And then I had said, though I'm not going to undermine or dismiss the value of these type of things, I will say that in my work experience, the fire service has its own culture. We do not care about race, color, creed, or religious background, sexual orientation, or whether you're, whatever letter. Okay, we don't care about any of that, because the fire service has its own culture, and for the most part, those that get it are all treated the same. And when I say get it, is because ball breaking happens, and it's not meant to be malicious. When it gets malicious, we will handle it, and we will take care of those people because they're being bullies. But for the most part, ball breaking happens, and it's a beautiful thing, because it's a love thing, right? And we all take care of each other, and there's that brotherhood and now sisterhood thing, in the fire service. And the fire service is its own culture. So for those to say, well, the culture is broken here, it's not that the culture is broken; it's that the people inside of the culture are ruining it. So you could have a beautiful flower bed with some beautiful landscaping, but rest assured, weeds will grow, and they will try to take the nutrients and energy away from the beautiful shrubs and plants and things that you have growing in your landscaping, right? So the landscaping is still beautiful. Landscaping is still that one thing. It's still that great landscaping, but you just got those weeds in there. So I say that the culture is the culture. You have to value the culture. And a lot of times people fail because they think that they can go in and change the culture. You can't improve. Now, understand that play on words. I went from change to improve. You cannot improve on your culture, and you should, because just as in life, you need to improve, you need to grow, you need to evolve. So same as your culture, same as your flower bed. You need to feed it, you need to keep it maintained, you need to give it nutrients, and you need to pull the weeds or protect it from the weeds that are going to try to suck the life away from it. Your culture in your fire service is the exact same thing. You need to value the culture. If you're going to come into an organization, or if you're part of an organization and you use words like the culture here sucks, okay, you are not valuing the culture. Now, once you value the culture, how do you do that? Let's talk about that. How do you value a culture? Well, you need to understand why things are what they are, why people are miserable about certain things, why people are proud about certain things, why the trucks, as stupid as this sounds, Dave, you've been doing this longer than me, the fire trucks are certain colors in certain organizations, and there's a meaning to that for people. And no matter how much convincing you could try to do to debunk their theory, they're going to be stuck to their convictions on that. So you need to value that culture, okay? Why the company logo is what it is, why there's pride in the company number or the district number or the county number, or whatever it is of their organization, okay? These are things that are part of the culture. You need to understand, value that, appreciate it before you think you're going to change anything or improve anything. You need to make it your own. You need to be part of that culture. And how do you become part of that culture? Well, it's the same as respect. Respect is a reciprocated process. You need to give it in order to earn it. So I need to be willing to give all of myself to being part of this culture in order to be invited into it. Once I'm part of the culture, then, and only then, can I work on improving the culture. Because now I understand, now I can empathize with the things that people want to change or improve or fix. And you talk about uniforms. Whether you're volunteer or career, but especially with your career, there needs to be pride in your uniform logo, right? Now, this is just me. I don't break my guys' balls to an extent. I'm big on uniform because I think that where I work for the Army. And when we're out in the public, we need to dress the part. We need to look like professionals. We need to be treated as such. Perception is reality. We need to market ourselves better. If the perception is that the guys in the firehouse are in a frat house, and that they're not, really doing anything at all during a day, well, that perception is unfortunately a reality for people. So it's not that I need to improve my culture in my organization. It's that I need to try to market my culture to making it part of the culture of the residents and the people that I serve, so they can value what it is that we do. How do we get there? Well, small things like looking like we dress the part, looking like we're professional, looking like we have some pride in our uniform. Now, when we're in the station, I'm married to the sense that this is called a firehouse, and I'm fine with that because they live there. And if they want to be in a T-shirt during the day inside the firehouse or whatever, as long as it has the company logo on it, I don't care about that because they're still serving the general public. They're still serving the mission. They're still serving the higher power, but they're in their house, okay? But when they're out and they're serving the public, they're in the public's house. So they're going to dress the part and look the part and look presentable. And as you market those things and educate people of those things, there becomes an increase in the pride of the culture that's already there that they just weren't recognizing. And they want to showcase more. So like for us, we're company 13. And that's a big piece of the identity of where I work. And the guys are very proud of that. Now, growing up, I had whatever that, there's literally like a sickness for it. It's like some kind of psychological thing where it's like some kind of phobia of the number 13. It's like, like I don't even know what it's called, but it's like 13ophobia or something, but it's got like a sexier Latin name.
I think it's called like trichdycophobia or something like that. Somebody will hear and correct it for me, but I understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So
I do.
I had this, like how crazy I had it was when I'd be working out and, contrary to my physical appearance, I would work out, I'd be on the treadmill or something. And when it would be on the counter for number 13, if I was on the 13th mile, I would have to cover the screen or look away from it. Or if it was on the 13 minute, I'd have to cover it. When my wife puts the volume on 13, I'd be like, no, put it on 12 or 14. Like, you can't leave it on 13. Like it was weird for me. It's crazy, right? I love the number 13 so much now because I realize that is a huge piece of our identity. And to the point now, you and I are friends, and you follow stuff that I put on social media. I have everything I post from when I have my guys, I put hashtag 13hose. And, then I coupled that with we are the standard. And the reason why I say that is because we, in the north end of the county, there's only 2 career fire departments. In the county, there's only, I think 4 paid stations out of the entire county. And my guys have a load of certifications, and with certifications, they understand that I don't believe in paper firemen. So those certs mean that you can provide the skill set, and we will work toward justifying and proving that you deserve to have that certification. We are the standard. So when people call 13, they know they're getting the pros. When you have a plumbing issue in your house and you can't, you get in over your head trying to get the pipes fixed, you call in a professional and then you pay the money willingly to get it fixed. I want that perception to be of Company 13. I want people to know that when they need something, that we're going to come and we're going to help them do it. And that's going to be the culture of 13. And how we got there was just showcasing that we already had this culture. We just needed to value it better. And I think the importance is that internally between leadership and the floor, the players on the team, they don't value the culture themselves. And that's why they throw around those things. Oh, the culture here sucks. The culture doesn't suck. You do. And you haven't valued it yet. Why don't you value what it is before you go and try to throw out stones?
Yeah, I agree, and I've heard, you hear people like, this place sucks, or this culture sucks, or this or that. I always challenge them, like, well, what sucks about it? Tell me what sucks about it. And a lot of times it's personal grievances, personal issues with something, and to coin a phrase, that's a you problem, and you need to come to terms with what the culture of the organization is. It's funny because I teach part of what we call our Gear Up program. It's all new volunteers that are coming into Frederick County. They have to go to this program. So I teach the introduction portion of the Gear Up program, which talks about the fire service in Frederick and things like that. But I also inject a lot of, here's what it's like in the fire service. Here's what firehouse life is. And for those that have never been in the military or haven't been in the fire service, you need to understand that this is not your business office. We view life differently. We view the world differently. We view society differently. And this is all based on the calls that we run, the things that we see, what we're subjected to. So it gives us a different way to think. And it's difficult to convey that to the people that are brand new, have never been in the fire service before, to kind of understand what I'm saying. So I kind of finish it off with, you need to develop thick skin in order to survive in the fire service. And I tell them, we are all adults and we know what harassment and we know what discrimination is. But in the fire service, we bust balls. I say we're messing with you. And once we get to know you, then we're going to mess with you. And take that as a good thing. And I tell people, I said, the day that people stop messing with you is the day you need to start questioning, what did I do wrong? And why is everybody mad at me? Because nobody's messing with me anymore. And it's very difficult to kind of to explain that to people. And I tell them, this job, this is your family. And you have brothers and sisters, whether they're related to you or not. But just like in your regular family, you have brothers and sisters. And you guys will mess back and forth and you'll argue. But at the end of the day, you're still brothers and sisters. You still love each other. Well, that's the way the fire service is. And then when I finish with that class, then I have to teach EEO, which is hilarious because I'm not an EEO person. I'm not an HR person.
Yeah, I don't mean to laugh, but I've had to do it too.
It is. And it's difficult to try to shoehorn EEO as it pertains to the world into the fire service. And a few months back, I had Stephanie White on my show, and we talked about EEO in the fire service. And that's one of her biggest things she hates is as HR trying to cram EEO and harassment and discrimination, all that stuff, to shoehorn it into the fire service because it's so different. And but at the end of the day, we know what harassment is. We know what discrimination is. There's a clear-cut line of what that is. But the things that we do to each other in the firehouse, how we're busting balls and we're goofing on each other and saying things, that aren't crossing the line, is not something you would do in the 12th floor of Fifth Avenue in Manhattan, in a white-collar job or just in an office building. You wouldn't do that. But in the fire service, it's different. We deal with things with dark humor, and I have to try to explain what that is to people, and it's difficult. But at the end of the day, that is the culture of the fire service. We are brothers and sisters in the fire service. We spend a third of our life there, and that's our house. That's our second home. So when we talk about, like you said, bringing this all back around, we talk about we don't need to change the culture. We need to enhance it. We need to make it better. We need to add to it. Back in the 70s, the early 70s, we weren't wearing SCBA. When I say we, not me, but those firefighters weren't wearing SCBA. But we recognize that this piece of equipment will allow us to do our job quicker, and oh, by the way, we're not getting sick and dying as much. So we changed the culture of the fire service. We enhanced it. We didn't change it because the fire service is still the same, but we've made it better. We now have better equipment, better turnout gear. We're not wearing rubber coats anymore. We're not wearing canvas coats anymore. We're not wearing Nomex anymore. We're wearing PBI. So we have enhanced our culture, but we never changed the fire service. We've made it better as we moved forward, and people need to understand that there is a big difference, in my opinion, of changing the culture versus, like you said, enhancing it, making it better.
Well, yes, exactly. And then one of the things that you were just sharing when you went through, just the history of the involvement just over the past, let's say 50 years, right? That's part of our culture. One of the things that I talk about in my leadership class is that I say, the mission of the fire service is to protect the lives and properties of the residents and the communities that surround us. Right? We never got away from that. We had horse-drawn wagons, steam pumpers, motorized. Now they're talking about electric pumpers, whatever. SCBAs went from the 3/4 length to the full turnout gear, everything, right? The type of tools we use, to the way we approach things, to the cancer thing, understanding that we need to wash our gear now after every type of incident. These are things that we have evolved over the years. But that's the culture of the fire department. I say to people, like, you want to run a Fortune 500 company, you want to introduce some kind of improvement, some kind of change in the organization, go talk to a fire department, go talk to a firefighter, go talk to a fire chief, right? Because we have perfected change. And oftentimes we joke about it, like there's the backdraft sign that says 200 years unimpeded by progress, 200 years of tradition unimpeded by progress, and it's funny, we laugh about it, but the reality is we literally we're like we hold PhDs in improving the culture, because that is our culture. We have adapted and evolved. Whether we fought against it, whether we had the old timers against it, whatever, we never stopped providing the service. The bells went off and the truck still rolled. And that's part of the culture of the fire department. And there's merit to that. And that's when you get those people that are those naysayers that, the culture sucks here. Whatever, bro, because I guarantee that when that call comes in, your ass is still going to get on that rig and you're still going to be at your best, or at least want to be at your best. And that's the thing that never changed about what we do. And that in itself is the winning argument to trying to convince people of cultural change, is we perfected it. That is our culture, is we've perfected evolution.
Yeah, it's funny. We started this culture talk. We talked about uniforms, and I know you and I have talked about this once before. I carry those shout wipes in my locker because I'll always get a dribble of coffee on my shirt, and of course it's white, so everything shows up, or a little bit of food. Right. I'll close and lock my office door, take my shirt off, and I'll sit there and scrub it with one of those shout things to get that little stain out. Because to me, that's a reflection on what I look like. If I'm sitting to talk, if I'm standing 100%. Talking to somebody and they see a coffee stain on my shirt, they might be thinking like, "What a friggin' slob! This guy's a slob," or whatever, Right. And I don't want to portray that. But when I was a battalion chief in Montgomery County, at the stations in the 1st Battalion, we were very pride-driven battalion. We strove to be the best in the county, which we were, which I wholeheartedly admit we were the best in the county. But you would have people that, if they're wearing their T-shirt around the firehouse, which is perfectly fine, if another member saw one of our guys wearing a T-shirt and there was a small hole in that T-shirt, they would get their finger in that and rip the entire T-shirt off of the guy's back, to the point where you could never wear that shirt again. And that was the whole purpose of it is, hey, yeah, I'm just messing with you where I might be ripping your T-shirt off, but it's twofold. The thing is you're not going to wear that shirt ever again. That T-shirt that says Montgomery County on it, that said 1st Battalion Station, whatever, you're representing us. We're very prideful of what we do, and you're not going to soil that reputation with the hole in your shirt. They would literally put their hand in the hole and rip the whole shirt off of somebody's back. That's how the culture enhanced as we moved forward, that they took pride in what they wore. They took pride at looking good. And you don't have to earn a paycheck to be a professional. You just need to look the part. And I'll tell you right now, you put 2 fire engines side by side and you get people getting off the fire engine that look sloppy versus people that get off the fire engine looking professional and ready to do the job and that they take pride in what they do. Hands down, their first impression is going to be the only impression, in my opinion. So, yes, I understand it if we're nitpicking uniforms and everything else is good, but that's where it starts. If you allow your company to look like shit, then the rest of the company is going to be shit. And you don't allow that to go, and people recognize that, and then it grows from there. Take pride in what you look like. You take pride in your apparatus. It looks clean. You take pride in your tools. They're not rusty. Then you take pride in your skills when you're on the fire ground. And I've told people, make no mistake, the fire service is the only job where other people don't mind doing your work, especially if it's on fire.
Right. I wholeheartedly agree with that.
So that's it for my soapbox. We're at the 1 hour and almost 10-minute mark, which is I like to keep these about an hour because people like to drive back and forth to work. But again, Dave, truly appreciate you being on the show. I like talking to you because you make me laugh. I like following your stories. It seems like Scott's constantly giving you reasons to post online. I think his last post was a Sinead O'Connor
oh my
post.
God!
And somebody even said, "What is wrong with you?"
It was me that said that. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Hilarious. But anyway, so again,
yeah, thanks.
Truly appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule and to be on my show again. And again, give the book is The Training Officer. It'll be out soon. Follow Dave McGlynn. He's on all facets of social media between Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Constantly promoting the book. And when it comes out, I urge you guys to get it, read it. And if you want to throw some stuff out there on how people can reach you and some of the classes that you teach, I know you have your leadership website as well. So go ahead and plug all that stuff as well.
Thank you, brother. So that's all. Well, just thank you for having me again. I love our talks too. I always say, Frank put us in touch with each other, and it was a match made in heaven. We've stayed in touch since, and I always enjoy talking to you because you're just a genuine dude, and that's what's important in our thing is people being genuine for the right reasons. So I appreciate you and your friendship and your brotherhood, and then for having me on again. I love talking with you too. But then, so I'm on all social media. I'm under my name, Dave McGlynn, McGlynn. And then Passion in Leading is the name of my teaching company. I have a bunch of stuff on social media for that also. The book is called The Training Officer, Do You Have What It Takes? It'll be available hopefully sometime in August, and you can get it on firefighterbookclub.com. You can pre-sale. It's up for pre-sale now. You can buy it now. I think they're selling it for $34.99. I think that's the price. It's I just I appreciate talking shop. I appreciate anybody that wants to reach out and talk shop with me and any support and sharing the message. I appreciate it, and that's it. But and then classes. I do teach a leadership class. It's called Passion in Leading. And then I teach my training officer class, which is Do You Have What It Takes to Be a Training Officer? both have been at some big venues and definitely the biggest FDIC, and I appreciate all the fire engineering has done for me to showcase my talents and the stuff that I'm trying to do. So, yeah, thank you, man.
Awesome. Well, with that, we'll close out the show, and until next month, keep listening to Side Alpha Leadership. You can find me on the website, sidealphaleadership.com, also in all facets of social media as well, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. With that, Dave, again, thanks for being on the show, and take care and be safe.